Welcome, everyone. I can see that you're joining, and so continue. We're just going to hold for a couple minutes as people join us. I know that we're expecting, several hundred people this evening. So, what a great time of the year! I know this is. We're excited for this webinar. I just want to say welcome to everyone. We'll hold for just a few more minutes here, a few more seconds. Now, if you if you haven't been part of a webinar or a Zoom meeting, then I don't know where you've been, because that's what we've been doing for the last year, right? And so, but I just want to say that if this is your first webinar or Zoom, we're going to do a session tonight where we're going to be hearing from our Dean and VP of Admissions and Financial Aid, Manuel Carballo. We're also going to hear from our Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, David Kamitsuka, and then also our Associate Dean and Professor of English, as well as a Director of Curriculum, Laura Badeau. And so we have some great distinguished guests for us for this evening. And I do have to say, this is just one of the most exciting times of the year. As someone in admissions, again, my name's Tom Abeta. I'm the Director of Admissions. And this is my absolute favorite time of the year, because it culminates a year's worth of, if even more than a year's worth of work. And then now we get to celebrate, students and parents for all the great work that you've done, and we get to welcome you. And so this evening, we're going to kind of give you a broad overview. We're going to let you know about Oberlin in some broad strokes, but also to give you a highlight to some of the things that we're going to be doing, because we have for the next 6 weeks, right up until May 1, that day when you get to let us know that you're committed to Oberlin and you're going to send in your deposit, right? We're waiting for that day, but you have 6 weeks kind of to decide, to explore, and we have many activities over the next several weeks that we're going to highlight. And then tonight, like I said, we're going to do some broad strokes in terms of really talking about Oberlin, talking about our community, talking about what makes Oberlin a distinctive place and one that you can pursue your interests, but also build great community. And I know for myself, over the last 20 years, being a part of this community, we really do build it one person at a time. And so we want to celebrate you, students, as well as parents, family members, those that have supported you, over this time. And so when I say that we build it one person at a time, it really is building a community. And that's what selective admissions do, right? And so if we have this really great pool of applicants, we're picking and choosing individual students because we think that you're going to make find Oberlin a home. And so what I wanted to do was just to open up, and it may be familiar with you already, but we had produced a video that's called Welcome Home, right? That we believe that it captures a lot of the essence of who we are as a community. And we're excited. We thought that just to kind of set the tone for us this evening is that we're going to open up with this video. And then from there, Manuel Carballo is going to have a few words for us. But I'd love to cue my colleague, Jess, is in the background, and she's going to start this video. But again, enjoy. It's only going to be 2.5 minutes or so. And then from there, we'll begin tonight's webinar. Thank you, everyone.
I spent a lot of time in high school thinking about how I could make things better today than they were yesterday. The world's challenges were calling, and the clock was ticking. Sometimes I wondered if others could feel it as much as I did. I asked why a lot, or why not. I believed in possibility. You could say I was a bit of a visionary or an idealist, but I knew I couldn't just sit around and wait for others to do the work. Maybe that sounds familiar, and if you're like I was when I was looking at colleges, you're probably looking for a community that gets it. I knew Oberlin was different the moment I stepped on a campus. The place had a pulse, its energy was everywhere. I listened in on conversations and was struck by how everyone seemed to be trying to learn from each other. Difference here was something to celebrate, not avoid. I knew I'd found my people. We like to say that Oberlin is a lab in which you can study and design the world you really want. We're proud of our history. There have been a bunch of milestones along the way, from inventing coeducation and adopting a race-blind admissions policy in the 1830s to more recent leadership in global sustainability efforts. Sometimes we romanticize the breakthroughs and forget to mention that the lab work can get messy, but that has always been an important part of the process. We're motivated by those who came before us, and we honor them by embracing the next frontier. It's a thread that connects generations of Obies. Consider this. What might seem radical at Oberlin today is almost always tomorrow's status quo. It's been that way for almost 2 centuries. Moving things forward is just what we do. It's an honor to be a part of it. It's what we think education should be. Our tagline says, think one person can change the world, so do we. That's our way of letting you know that we see you, future Obies. We've been looking for you too. Welcome home.
Thank you for that, Tom, and thanks for the welcome and the introduction. Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Manuel Carballo. I'm the Vice President, Dean of Admissions and Financial Aid, and it's absolutely wonderful to have you all here. It's so great to see you all. Although we can't see you, but you can see us. But it really is exciting, as Tom said. This is what we really build up for in admissions at the end of the year, and this is a real exciting time for us. So I want to be the first to welcome you and say congratulations to the Oberlin class of 2025, our newest admitted students. It is so wonderful to have you here, and we're so excited that you're able to join us here today. So we are excited because this is kind of the culmination of a process and something that we're really looking forward to. We have the next 6 weeks or so to tell you a little bit about Oberlin before May 1st, when you get to make some of these decisions. Know that this is the first of what's going to be many events. There's a lot of opportunities for you to be able to join us. Almost daily, we're going to have these webinars. We know there's too many for you to join. Don't feel like you have to join us at every single one of them, but know that we really want to give you a lot of opportunities to connect with us. And we really hope that you will take advantage of those. This is year 4 for me at Oberlin. I am not an OB. I'm a liberal arts graduate. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later, but I'm really excited about introducing the Oberlin community and talking a little bit more about what this process has been. I'm going to try to do a couple of things before I pass this on to my colleagues here. At first, I want to talk a little bit about this process, reflect a little bit about the admissions process and what that process is like for us. Then I want to talk a little bit about who these, who's making up the class of 2025. Who are these soon-to-be friends and roommates that are also joining you on this webinar, who you might be seeing here as classmates here in the fall. Also want to share, and I know each one of us will do this, talk a little bit about what makes Oberlin special. And as Tom said, when each one of us is finished, then we hope that we will then have a chance to answer some questions for you. Certainly there will be plenty more opportunities, but hopefully this will get us started. I want to also kind of start out by acknowledging that these have been tough times. I can't imagine when you were sitting in a classroom your freshman year that you thought that this was what your senior year might look like. It's definitely been a tough year. The schooling has probably looked very different than what you were thinking it was going to be just 2 or 3 years ago. And that your senior year probably looks very different to what you might have imagined. Some of you are in your senior year, some of you are taking a gap year and are now looking to join us, but it's been really very different. Also want to acknowledge that it's a kind of an interesting time for the U.S. and this country, right? We've been plagued by these incidents of violence, some that have particularly targeted some of our communities of color and really touched us deeply. So that's something that has definitely affected all of us here in the last few days and over the last months. The pandemic has certainly shaped our day-to-day life in really unimaginable ways, things that we really wouldn't have thought of just a few months ago. But in saying all that, I also want to say that we're here really to celebrate you, students, that despite all these tough things that have been dealt your way, you've worked really hard to get to this point. And that's something that we really don't want to diminish. We want to really congratulate you on this accomplishment and really, lift you up, because it's really been a wonderful thing. Also want to acknowledge that in some ways, we kind of wish you were here and that we were giving this welcome and introduction in person. And unfortunately, we can't always do that. We know that you have lots of questions, and we want to make sure that we answer all of them. Do know that our campus is in full swing. Most of our students are back on campus. We've had students on campus since the fall and have been able to really be successful in kind of this transition over the year, but there are limits to the number of students, number of people we can have in one space at a time. And so most of our programming here for All Roads, what we call All Roads Lead to Oberlin, is going to be virtual. So there are going to be a lot of opportunities for you to engage. Some of you might still choose to come visit us. We do have tours available here for the next 6 weeks for admitted students, but most of the events are going to be virtual because we can't gather a group of students or a group of families under one roof. And so most of our events are going to be outside. But again, this is going to be the first of many. What we hope to do throughout these next 6 weeks or so is threefold. One is we're going to try to answer the why Oberlin question, right? Why do we think this is a great choice for you and your family as you consider your college options? Second is we want you to get to know our community. And so we want you to engage with our faculty members, with our staff members. There's opportunities for you to connect with financial aid if you have questions with one of your counselors, but really get to know our community as you consider joining it next year. And third, I think, is also giving you opportunities to get to know each other. So we have hangouts where students get to hang out with each other. Admitted students get to do that. Over the weekends, we have game nights where you get to hang out with some of our current students, but there's opportunities for you all to get to know each other. Some of you have already been doing that through our admitted student Facebook page. And so we really want to make sure that you're reaching out and really figuring out all the wonderful things that the Oberlin community has to offer for you. So how did you get here? It's been for all of you these 12 years of really tough, getting things done with certainly a lot of support from those loved ones around you, and a really intense college search. We try to make this as fun as we can for you from the admissions perspective, but we know that it can be a little bit stressful, right? It's you figuring out what schools might be a good fit. You're signing up to these mailing lists. You're getting tons of emails. Hopefully you've read a few of those, but we suspect some of those emails that we so carefully crafted went unopened. Endless conversations with your families over what might seem great. But as challenging as that search has been, if you're joining us today, it's clearly paid off. And so congratulations, take a deep breath, pat yourselves on the back, and we really are excited to show you what Oberlin has to offer. I want to acknowledge that we have a couple of different audiences here today, right? We have students, those of you trying to find a college home here for the next 4 years, and also your parents and loved ones, those who helped to get to this point and who are getting ready to say goodbye. And that's going to be a tough thing for those of us who are parents. And so be mindful of us and support us, but know that you're in it together. Try to remember that and support each other as you go through the process. So parents, the 17, 18 years have really passed in the blink of an eye. My oldest is still about 10 years away from this process, but I'm already, sweating it out and stressed about what this is going to be like. But we know you have lots of questions. Know that we're here to help. You know that we're here to support you throughout this process. And students, I just want to acknowledge that, it really is a privilege to get to read your applications. This is something that we don't take lightly. I always describe this as getting a little bit of a window, a little bit of a peek into your lives. And you really give us that privilege of sharing some wonderful things for you. So you've opened your hearts to us in your applications. We've read your essays, read about your amazing insights, and it's something that we really appreciate. So what have we learned about you throughout this process? A quick peek this morning at the admitted student Facebook page. We know that a lot of you love baking. Surprisingly, a large number of you love writing poetry. Excited about that. Many of you love watching movies. Really interesting. Roller skating seems to be making somewhat of a comeback. A couple mentions of roller skating. Know that there's a roller rink here about 10 minutes away. That can be a lot of fun. A lot of you love the outdoors, and then some interesting shout outs here for Grays and Fiona Apple on the music front. So some interesting things. But what have we learned as we were reading your applications? We also know that you're looking for a place to explore. You care about the academic offerings, but also about friendships, opportunities, and about making a difference. You're choosing a place where you'll make friends to last a lifetime, prepare for whatever might come next. We know that we've chosen you because we want you to be a part of the Oberlin community for years to come. So what is it that we know? Let me give you some stats about these potential OBs that are here with you. So this year, the admissions office considered 9,239 applications. That is a significant rise. So that's a 17% increase over last year and a 47% increase over just 2 years ago. So you are applying in the most competitive and the largest applicant pool in Oberlin's history. So definitely something to be proud of. Our colleagues in the Conservatory of Music evaluated about 1,400 applications of students also joining our community. So that means about 10,000 students combined we're looking to join our incoming class of what we're hoping to be is going to be about 800 students as we go forward to the next year. Out of those 800 students or so, about 81 of you from the college and conservatory have already indicated that you're coming. You were taking gap years, and so you were accepted last year. Some of you have been traveling the world, but that was cut short for many of you. Some of you have just been home waiting for the pandemic to subside or saving money, working, spending time with loved ones. About 230 of you have already joined us through early decision, the first ED1 and ED2 rounds. And so we've already decided that we are. So if we're doing our math correctly, we're still hoping for another 400 or so OBs to join us here in arts and sciences, plus another 120 or so students joining us in the conservatory. So that's the exciting time we're in. Experience tell us that some of you might be pretty certain that Oberlin is where you want to be. But we also kind of know that many of you are going to wait to the last 3 days and give me a lot of sleepless nights. And so not too many hairs left, but those gray hairs that I do have, some of them have your name on them as you kind of keep it, not tell us till May 1st where it is that you're going to decide. But know that a staff of about 24 of us here in admissions and 6 in financial aid have been busy trying to get to know you. We've Zoomed with your schools around the world. We've interviewed you virtually. We've called you to complete financial aid files, read your essays, and we've really invested a lot of time trying to figure out who has that ever elusive fit, right? Who do we think is going to be a great fit? Who's going to excite our professors in our classrooms? Who's going to make great roommates, excel on stage or on the court? We really wanted to know and get to know you a little bit better. Who are these next generation of OBs going to be? But after a couple months of deliberations, here we are. So who are you all? Where do you come from? You represent all corners of the US and the world, from just down the block right here in Oberlin, at Oberlin High School, to far-flung locales like Indonesia. We have 49 states represented in the admitted class. Yes, I'm looking at you, South Dakota. We missed you this year. We'll work again on it next year. We also have students from Puerto Rico, the District of Columbia, and the Northern Mariana Islands. So we found somebody from the Northern Mariana Islands, not South Dakota. We'll have to work harder on that one. 178 of you, 5% of the admitted students are first-generation college students. Really proud of you, and I know your families are proud of getting you to this point as well. 282 of you are international students. That represents about 8% of the admitted student class. And finally, 978 of you indicated that you were students of color, US students of color. That's about 29% of the admitted class, and certainly the highest number of students of color we've ever admitted to Oberlin, something we're very proud of. But as you can see, you come from all over the world, bringing true diversity to Oberlin, and we're really excited about what you could join us and what you could do here at Oberlin here in the next 4 years. I also want to say that this is kind of an odd time for us in admissions. This is where I consider kind of a weird moment in time. For the last few years, 3 or 4 years, you've been doing all the right things, getting the right grades, asking us whether you should be taking those honors courses, AP courses, IB classes, trying to impress admissions offices and really saying, please, 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 will you take me? And we've been kind of saying, maybe, we'll see how it goes, right? Well, now you all have those admit letters in hand. So now the tables are turned and it makes us a little uncomfortable. Now we're the ones who are saying, please, please come to Oberlin. And you're saying, maybe, we'll see. We know that you have a lot of great options and really savor it, right? We hope that you will choose us, that there are a lot of opportunities and a lot of great things that you have to offer, but we know that you have wonderful choices. So this is where you get to figure out a little bit about what is it about Oberlin that might make a good fit for you. So let me tell you what I think, makes why I chose Oberlin 4 years ago. So I was in your shoes. This is year 4 for me at Oberlin. So just very briefly, here's some things, some reasons that I think Oberlin might be a good fit for you all. The first is our commitment to the liberal arts. So as I mentioned earlier, I went to a liberal arts college, and I've worked at 2 other admissions offices, also at liberal arts colleges. I shouldn't tell you which schools they are, but they're located in Swarthmore, Pennsylvania, and Middlebury, Vermont, in case that helps any one of you. But I've always loved working at these small schools, right? Schools that are small, very personal, residential communities with the undergraduate focus, right? That engage, that focus on the undergraduate experience that you really get at these small communities. And so that's part of what I've always loved and something that I really appreciate. I tried out a bigger school for grad school, enjoyed that experience for sure. But we say you can get the best of both worlds, right? Join us here at the Small Liberal Arts Experience, where the focus is on you as an undergraduate, and then go off to grad school where you get to take advantage of those opportunities as well. Also join Oberlin because of what we call it being an intentional community, right? It's a place where our faculty and staff choose to be here because we want to be a part of this experience with you. The dean at one of the schools I worked at some point, said something that has really stuck with me, that our goal here at these liberal arts colleges is to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comforted, right? That we're small enough that we're here to really lend out a helping hand, where it's really hard to fall through the cracks at a place like Oberlin because there's too many safety nets to support you, right? There's going to be an RA, a faculty member, somebody in the dean's office to really reach out and support you. But it's also the kind of place where we want to make sure that you don't just skate by, that if you're skating by at Oberlin and doing just too well, that means that we're just not challenging you enough, and that our goal here is to really do both of those things. But we really choose to be here because we want to be a part of that, right? We want to go bowling with you on Wednesday night, want to go enjoy your performance at the opera or join you for a basketball game, but that we enjoy being part of this intentional community. It's something that we really want to do. It's also about, of course, the academics, and you'll hear David and Laura talk a little bit more about that. But, the fact that we're so proud at Oberlin that over the last 100 years, we have sent on more students to get PhDs than any other predominantly liberal arts college in the country. So we're bringing in students who really care about that academic experience. This is a very serious place where our faculty really support students in that academic endeavor, and that's something that we really appreciate. And again, you'll hear a little bit more about that. It's also a very special place that has this odd interaction or intersection of the liberal arts with the world-class conservatory. And so many of you know that, of course, that we are in some ways a very typical small liberal arts college, but we also have this great liberal arts conservatory as well. We share a campus. Your roommate might be a clarinet major or a biochemist. And so there's a lot of great opportunities, but there's a lot of creativity and energy. First time I was on campus in the park right behind me on Tappan Square. As I was walking by, I heard a violin, and when I looked up, I kid you not, there was a student playing the violin on a tree. It's the kind of thing that admissions offices love, right? We want to take a picture of it, put it on the cover of a brochure, but we don't do it because you won't believe us that it actually happens here. But this happened, and as I was reflecting with a faculty member later, it was actually one of the orchestra conductors in the conservatory. He didn't even blink an eye. He just said, well, what was he playing, right? Like, yeah, it happens all the time, not a big deal. But it's really kind of a fun place. I love it when we see kids riding their bikes with, a violin case in the back, or our poor students who play the harp are having to, carry their harp across Tappan Square with the dolly. But it really is a commitment and something that a lot of us get to share with that creativity. And then, of course, having this wonderful education. I think one of the things that I really appreciate the most about Oberlin is that it's an education for a purpose, right? As you heard from the video, this motto or logo of "Think one person can change the world, so do we." It's this idea that Oberlin's always been future thinking ahead of its time in some ways. One of our students who was filling out a survey at the end of this process a couple of years back said, "OBs dare to make a difference. They really dare to be themselves." And that's something that I've really appreciated, right? And so whatever that is for you, it means that our students don't try to wear a uniform. They're happy to be themselves. They're not all wearing the same things. And whatever that might mean for you, right? Whether that's wearing a bow tie to class or going to class barefoot. It's the idea that you're really being your own unique self, and that this is a place where you can really find that home. And that's something that we appreciate. It's also a place where we have a real commitment to access. Certainly, that we're committed to meeting 100% of the full demonstrated financial need. And that means that we really bring in a diverse group of students to Oberlin. But it's also a place that's committed to merit aid, because we know that sometimes meeting need is not always enough for your families as well. But access is a big, important part. It wouldn't be enough, I think, for us to provide this wonderful experience, but feel then like some students would be excluded from it. So getting to a stop there, but let me just say, as kind of I get to my concluding remarks, is really enjoy this process, right? This is where the fun part begins for you, right? You have some wonderful options now. And students, this is where you really get to choose where you get to be for the next 4 years. I will ask that you bring your parents, your family along. We might be sending them a bill at the end of this process, so make sure that they're a part of this process, but really make this about you and about where you want to be. Do remember, though, at the end of the day, this isn't what defines you, right? It's all those other wonderful, characteristics that brought you to the table that led us to admit you that really define you, not where you end up choosing to go to college. Though our fingers are really crossed that you will end up joining us here at Oberlin. We know you have some wonderful options. We know how strong students you are, but we really hope that you will call Oberlin home here for the next 4 years and beyond. But as you think about the next few years, we know that the academic experience is a big part of what you want to do. So I want to turn it over to David and Laura so they can talk a little bit more from their experience about what they think makes Oberlin a great place. So David Kamitsuka is our Dean of the College. He is also a proud liberal arts grad, but I will turn it out to you, David, for the next set of comments.
Great, thank you, Manuel, and welcome future college class of 2025 and families. We're really so delighted that you're joining us this evening. And as Manuel said, we know that this was a particularly challenging year to finish high school and to be applying to college. But we're really so glad that you did apply to Oberlin, and super congratulations for being accepted. And we really hope to welcome you here at Oberlin in the fall. I really love that opening welcome home video. And just like Tom, and actually Tom speaks for everyone I know from Oberlin who's seen that video, that it really does capture the essence of our community. And I was particularly struck by the line in the video where it says, Oberlin has a pulse, its energy is everywhere. And let me suggest that the source of that pulse and energy comes from a really deeply caring community that animates everything that we do. OBs, as we call ourselves, care passionately about people, about society, about the earth, and the wide spectrum of academic disciplines and the performing arts and other practicing arts as well. It's a community that, I'm a philosopher by training, so I'll put it this way, that passionately cares about all that is good, true, and beautiful. And really what binds the faculty-student relationship here is the shared experiences we all have of the pursuit of the good, the true, and the beautiful. And what I mean by that are experiences that I think you've probably had in high school, but really becomes the dominant experience in a place like Oberlin. That is experiences like being so immersed in thought, in a challenge, in a problem, that you completely lose track of time. It's an experience like learning something new, and your conscience gets compelled to engage others in the world differently. And it's also the experience of having your breath taken away, that experience by the beauty of a poem, a painting, a mathematical proof, or a concerto. And given that the good, the true, and the beautiful are really ideals, there is always more to discover and actualize. And that's the way I interpret the line in the video that says, "We believe in possibility." And we want you to be part of that possibility at Oberlin. We're also a community of caring that's bound together by the way we relate to each other. Let me give you just two concrete examples. The first is the Peer Advising Leader Program, and I bring it up because the Peer Advising Leaders Program will be something that all entering students will know very well, even before they arrive at Oberlin. It was a program that was launched about 4 or so years ago, and the goal of the program is really to welcome and support new students. And typically the peer advisors, the PALs as we call them, are sophomores, some juniors, but mostly sophomores at Oberlin. And the motto for the program is every new student has a PAL. And the PAL cohorts are organized around first-year seminars. So students that you'll be in class with, and you have this peer advising leader that works with all of you from pre-orientation that will be remote to the orientation period, then tracking you through your first year. Now, the thing that I was really struck by about this program was when it was launched, we had so many applicants to become PALs that it's now become the most competitive program on campus. In other words, our students really want to welcome you to campus and be part of your experience. Another kind of example of Oberlin as a caring community is, I think, the way in which we responded to the pandemic. I think a community of care really was the most important reason for our success. And we had two guiding principles for this caring. One, of course, was to keep everyone safe. The other was to offer the highest quality educational experience we could for our students during pandemic conditions. So in order to meet both objectives, the faculty really went to extraordinary and unique lengths to be able to achieve both that public health safety and the highest quality education we could provide. The first step of what we did is we de-densified the campus by about 25%, so that every student was able to have a private place where they could study and live. All classes, everything else was socially distanced at 6 feet for public safety purposes. But in order for us to achieve that de-densification, we had to shift our traditional 2-semester model into a 3-semester model, fall, spring, and summer. First-year students are attending fall and spring. Sophomores attended fall, are away this semester, and we can't wait for them to come back in the summer. Juniors were away in the fall, they're here in the spring, and will be back in the summer. So we created this special summer semester for sophomores and juniors. And I don't know of any other college that has created a 3rd semester like this for the pandemic. Other schools have either remained fully densified or have required students to study remotely. But OBs really wanted, our faculty and students really wanted this high quality but safe experience. And our students really rose to the challenge of this pandemic situation. This year we've never had more than 0.25% PCR test or COVID test positivity. And I think in the last 2 months, there's been one person who's tested positive for COVID. And we expect to have the whole campus vaccinated later this spring. So we're really, as much as I admire our work during the pandemic, I really look forward to, and I know I speak for all the faculty, staff, and students, really look forward to a regular fall and spring academic year next year. Okay, so let me shift gears a little bit, anticipating some of the things that Dean Badeau is going to be talking about, by directing you to a few websites that I think will help you get to know Oberlin better. I'd start with the Oberlin Arts and Sciences homepage. Jess, if you can put that in the chat, that would be great. And let me point to 2 areas on that homepage. One is a section on collaborative education, and the other is on engaged liberal arts. And you'll see links there to various programs and opportunities under both of those categories. Under collaborative education, you'll see a link to our undergraduate research opportunities. As Manuel mentioned, many of our students go on to do doctoral level work, and they really get that taste for undergraduate research because our faculty really prize that collaboration with students. Students here frequently co-author scholarly publications with their faculty, and it's really a wonderful opportunity that a liberal arts college really committed to undergraduate education like Oberlin can provide. The second link is to our community-based learning. We're part of the Bonner Scholars, Bonner Center Network. And we have amazing opportunities that span not only our local community, but internationally as well. Speaking about international study, our Study Away program, the majority of our students at one point or another, either winter term or during the one of the academic semesters or summer, do study abroad. And let me point you to our unique London program where in the fall our students are taken by a team of faculty to London. They live in London and they have a learning community there in London together. Also, if you come for even just a visit, you need to go to our Allen Memorial Art Museum. It's literally one of the very best academic art museums in the country. And some 90 courses in arts and sciences every year you work with the Allen to develop assignments for their courses. So classes from biology to mathematics, of course in the humanities, all utilize this incredible resource that we have in the Allen Memorial Art Museum. And finally, although next academic year's first year seminars aren't online yet, do take a look at the first year seminar page and the variety of first year seminars that you'll have an opportunity to enroll in for next year. And remember that group in that first year seminar is really a powerful and important way for you to collaborate with your pal, with your students, and really an introduction to Oberlin learning. Of course, there's a link to the academics page. You might want to check out the page, and Jess, if you can put it in, the link to our areas of study. One of the nice things about that page, I think, is just the images that go with all the areas of study. Those are all from Oberlin in one way or another. So just that page will give you a feel for the college. But there's one area or one type of curriculum or curricular pathway there that you may not be aware of. I think you'll know about majors and minors, and of course we have a lot of those. But we also have 7 integrative concentrations. And let me briefly explain what an integrative concentration is. In its most simple form, you might think about it as an academic minor of like 6 or so courses with a significant experiential learning opportunity integrated with that classroom learning. It's really an intentional attempt to bring together theory and practice. And even more important than that, the practice of experience-based reflection and analysis. And there are these really interesting and sophisticated learning portfolios that accompany every one of those integrative concentrations. And so we have integrative concentrations in areas from global health and business, which we are launching this year. We're really excited about that. Peace and conflict studies and journalism, international affairs, education studies, and arts administration and leadership. So I hope you take a look not only at the majors, but also at these integrative concentrations, which are really designed to help you think about your future. And we know, and we factor into the curriculum itself, that the jobs or the positions of today are going to be very different in the future. Some futurists in education suggest that some 50 to 80% of current jobs are going to be radically transformed in the next 10 to 20 years. So we're trying to provide you with those skills, knowledge, the savvy, the sophistication about a pluralistic culture or cultures, societies that will allow you to to negotiate and lead in this very fluid moment of change that will be for your careers. Related to that is our career communities. And there's a link to that just too, that if you can put into the chat. Let me tell you what these career communities are. One of the, if our student, if you ask our faculty, what is the best thing about Oberlin? Everyone will say it's our students. And then you ask, well, what's the second best thing? They'll say it's our alumni. This is an opportunity in these career communities that range from, business and finance to law and public policy, to medical and health professions, to nonprofits and the public sector. This is an opportunity for students, faculty, and alumni to network and explore career opportunities and internships. And with these career communities, and also through the integrative concentrations, Oberlin supports stipend students to have really significant educational opportunities during the summer. So I hope you check that out too. So with that, let me turn it over to Laura Badeau, who will talk about other opportunities to experience Oberlin this spring. But these will be remote but live opportunities to experience Oberlin. And finally, let me just say really my heartfelt best wishes on behalf of the faculty and staff and students here as you go through the process of selecting your college for the next 4 years.
Thank you, David. And I'm so delighted to be here with all of you. And let me join my colleagues, panelists, co-panelists in saying how, in expressing my congratulations to you for this amazing achievement. You've heard lots from us, well, not from me yet, but lots from my co-panelists about what they love about Oberlin, what makes Oberlin special. You heard from students in the video, and you may be wondering, well, how am I going to experience that for myself? So obviously this is challenging in the context of the pandemic. So we have designed virtual windows into the Oberlin experience. And I just want to highlight 3 of those virtual windows. So the first one is the academic department fair, the virtual department fairs. So this is your opportunity to meet faculty and students from every department in the College of Arts and Sciences. You can learn about areas you may want to major in, of course, but we also encourage you to explore departments and programs that you may not have encountered in high school. So for example, you could join the Zoom room of Comparative American Studies, and you might ask faculty members and students, what kinds of questions does this discipline explore? What do you find most compelling and exciting about the study of Comparative American Studies? So we really do encourage you to treat this like a fair and browse different Zoom rooms and take advantage of the opportunity of all these departments being gathered in one space. You could also learn more about our academic departments and programs through daily class visits. You could attend a class every day for the next 5 weeks. And these classes span the sciences, social sciences, and humanities, from art history and creative writing to politics and environmental studies, to neuroscience, psychology, and biology. Attending classes will allow you to see our faculty and students in action and get a real feel for the academic experience at Oberlin. And finally, the opportunity I am most excited about, we're offering a course just for you, our admitted students, entitled Healing Democracy. So the academic fair and the class visits provide a window into the Oberlin academic experience, as I already mentioned. This class invites you to begin that Oberlin experience and to join Oberlin's intellectual community. We designed this course to address our current historic moment, to expose you to how a liberal arts education provides you with a breadth of perspective on contemporary issues and challenges, and finally, to help you get to know Oberlin faculty, students, and each other. You've received a letter of invitation from Dean Kamitsuka, and we have information on the website, and I think that has been shared with you. So let me just touch briefly on the central themes and structure of the course. So Healing Democracy examines the conditions of democracy in the US and explores how we might begin to restore a sense of common humanity and mutual accountability, reform the system of government to be more responsive to the needs of the people, and restore faith in democracy as the promise of equality. It is an ambitious course. In weekly lectures, President Ambar and distinguished Oberlin faculty members in history, politics, psychology, religion, neuroscience, creative writing, and Africana studies will provide a variety of perspectives on the challenges we face and the changes we can make in healing democracy. In addition to lectures and Q&A, the weekly class involves small group discussions led by PALs. David already talked about the peer advising leaders. In these small group meetings, you'll discuss the lectures, but you'll also learn about the Oberlin student experience from your PAL discussion leader. Last year, we offered a similar course for admitted students. It was hugely successful. Over 400 students enrolled, so that's 60% of the incoming class shared this unique experience. And I think most importantly, we've since learned from current first years who took the class that they formed really important friendships in these group discussions. So before even arriving on campus, they had a sense of community. They had found their people, as one student talked about in the video. So this is not only an opportunity to start establishing connections with your peers, which is hugely important, but we also are offering this course for credit. So you can begin your Oberlin College experience with 2 credits towards graduation. The registration deadline is April. I'm really delighted to answer questions about this course, whether this evening or over email. So Dean Kamitsuka talked about the pulse on campus. And as my panelists have shared, the pulse on campus now is really a widespread eagerness to welcome you, potential future OBs, to get to know you and to learn about the ways you will enrich our campus community. Thank you. I think we're ready for questions.
That's right. Thank you so much, Laura. Here's what we're going to do over this next kind of Q&A time. Now, we were slotted for an hour. We have just about 13 minutes until the top of the hour, but we will stay longer, a little bit past. I don't want to cut too deep into people's evenings, but that's what we'll do. And so if you haven't already been using the Q&A section, you can submit your questions in there. We do have Jess in the background kind of directly answering some of these questions. I know that we did reach capacity for this event tonight. And so this event is being recorded and that we will share that later on our website. So if you know of friends and other family members that were unable to attend this session, it will be recorded and then posted to our website. And so, but if you want to use the Q&A, if we're unable to answer them live tonight, what we'll do is that we will make sure that we answer every one of those that come in, and we will do that. And so one of the first questions, and here's what we'll do is I'm just going to kind of call out some of these questions that as they've been coming in, and then we'll leave it to our panelists. I would love it maybe if our panelists could maybe just one answer instead of all 3 answering the question, and we'll move on from there. If I cut you short, it's only because of time, so we can try to get through the vast majority of these. But the first one really regards the fall semester coming up. What will it be, 2 or 3 semesters? Do we know that yet? And then a couple other follow-up questions with that. Will students have roommates? Will it be 100% in person? And then will there be access to vaccines?
David, do you want to take a stab at that one?
Sure, I'm happy to. So, of course, when it comes to things like variances in SARS-CoV-2 or the COVID-19, we can't predict with certainty about the future. But we have a team of public health advisors and a team on campus. And we're quite confident that we will be able to be in a 2-semester format for this coming academic year. And Oberlin has been authorized by the state of Ohio to be a vaccine hub. And we're just waiting now for vaccines to arrive. And we just heard today that the state is moving ahead. So we're all eagerly waiting and hoping that vaccines will arrive on campus soon.
I'm going to break Tom's rule and answer some of those questions that I think that were there, kind of all related too. But yeah, the hope is that we will be, again, back to the 2 semesters and kind of as normal as possible, with all the caveats of it depends on how the pandemic goes. But the hope is to have most students here vaccinated before we come. There was a question about what about those students who can't get vaccinated before they show up? Certainly there will be opportunities for students to be vaccinated here, assuming we have vaccines, and we see no reason why we wouldn't by the fall. But the expectation would be that most students would be vaccinated before they would come. But we know some of you are coming from further away, and that there might be other considerations as well. The plan is for you all to have roommates. Some might have singles for certain reasons, but we are looking forward for you to be here. And for classes to all be in person, we will be eating in the dining halls. Yes, athletics will plan on going forward with regular fall and spring seasons, winter and spring seasons, as we typically would. And so I think we're really, as David had said, looking forward to kind of a more traditional type of an academic experience. We have not yet posted the academic calendar. We hope that will be posted here relatively soon. But again, some of the changes are there. What we do know is that we expect that orientation, there will be opportunities for students throughout the summer to engage with our Dean of Students office, but that a virtual orientation would start the second week of September. And so that would be kind of a couple-week virtual engagement and experience where we will kind of start getting students to know each other and engage in different things with the hope of the last week of September. I believe that's September 27th or so, being when students would be invited to be on campus for move-in. And so again, we'll send you an email when that's been confirmed with the hope of kind of that first week of October or so, starting the academic calendar. It's pushed a little bit based on our summer program, but I think we're excited a little bit further back, but we're really excited to have students. And again, the engagement will start early throughout the summer. So does that answer most of those questions around?
Yeah, there's also several questions about an athletic season. If we're moving toward being back to normal, whatever normal means, right, is that we are planning for an athletic season as well. And in terms of vaccines, there hasn't been a decision in terms of will they be mandated, but we are going to be a site, and we want to make sure that people are going to be safe, and we'll have more of those guidelines out as the vaccines become more available. We
sent out a survey to all of our community. Over 90% of our students, current students, had indicated that they were interested in getting the vaccine. And so that certainly gets us to that herd immunity that we all hear of on the news so much. And so I think certainly the hope is that we will reach that level for students. And so, but we will continue to have this. There's an OB Safe website. If we could put that up, Jess, I think that would be wonderful. But the OB Safe website, I think, has shows our testing over this academic year, and has a lot of wonderful information that I think can give you some our PCR testing and kind of the process and what it's been. We don't expect to have testing this coming year, assuming that most of our community has been vaccinated. And so, but we certainly would have testing for anybody who is symptomatic as we move forward. But we see light at the end of the tunnel. We're almost there, and we're excited for you all, because as tough as this year has been, we really hope that as we move forward, that it's been great. The one thing maybe David or Laura can address that I know was a question here as well is, how are we addressing this thought of this last year maybe being kind of a lost year for many of our students before they kind of start their freshman year at college, a lost academic year in terms of maybe preparation or what this experience has been. We know that many of you have been working hard and still going to Zoom classes, but the question, one of the questions referenced the challenges of what this year has been in terms of the transition for next year.
Sure, I'm happy to answer that. And it's a question that the faculty and the academic deans are thinking about all the time, even as early as from last spring. We know, and there was a piece out from the Brookings Institute about this, that there are significant losses in learning outcomes in reading, writing, and quantitative proficiency, mainly math, because of the COVID pandemic and remote learning and disruption of classes and the like. I would say two things. One, that there is a kind of experience in education that has afforded all of you. There's a certain resilience, meeting the challenge that will be useful not only in college, but in life. So yes, that is a kind of glass half full way of thinking about it, but I really believe it. Secondly, we are creating what's called a learning lab, and are for reading, writing, communication skills more generally, and quantitative proficiency for the next several years, and probably ongoing into the future, really designed to help support students make the transition from high school to college. We know that it's our responsibility to be a student-ready campus, and we will definitely do that. And it's a really exciting opportunity for all of us here. Our faculty are thinking about it. Our instructors in our first year seminars are thinking about it. So it's a great question, and something that we're really planning for since the beginning of this academic year.
So a question in here, what is there to do in the surrounding area of Oberlin?
I can take that one. I think there's a lot. So I moved from a place that didn't necessarily have a ton to do around, and I've really enjoyed being here. So for those of you coming from further away, I think important to know that the airport is about 25-30 minutes away from us. The Cleveland International Airport, there are flights that get you here from most anywhere. So it is easy for you all to get home if you're from further out. Most of our students come from further out. California and New York tend to be two of our most represented states. We have more international students than we have students from the state of Ohio, so that's important. The town is an awesome town. It is a walkable town. There's about 8,000 people in the town of Oberlin, and it's very much that community, right? So right across from the admissions office is a cafe run by our soccer coach and his wife, who's an OB, where you would oftentimes find students studying together, office hours happening, but there's a lot of really great things going on. So cafe, there's an awesome Thai restaurant in town. It's just a place with a lot of life and vibrancy. You might walk by on a Friday night and there would be live music outside of one of the restaurants. And so it's a really great complement to what's happening in town. Our students are volunteering at the local schools. They're being really active. And then there's plenty to do. So if you love the outdoors, there's a bike trail that runs right through the town that can get you really close. Within 20 minutes, you're in one of the Great Lakes, and you could be playing beach volleyball, at the shore of the Great Lake, one of the Great Lakes. And so there's really a lot of opportunities. And Cleveland is only about 45 minutes away. I would say most of our students don't go to Cleveland on a regular basis. There's plenty to keep you busy here on campus. We have, a couple operas on campus, concerts, theater performances, parties. There's plenty to go, but it's nice to have Cleveland for a concert, a bigger concert if you would like to go to one, a professional sporting event. You could, I live right in town and I can, leave a Cavs game and be home within 45 minutes. And you get a chance to do that. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is in Cleveland. It's really a great town, wonderful food. And so it's nice to have that as an option for students if you just want to get a little bit of city life, for those of you who might miss it a little bit. But for most of us, I think it's just great to be right here in Oberlin in this really small town, and there's plenty to keep you busy. It's also a very safe place. I won't tell you where I live. Usually don't lock my door. It's the kind of place where we're here because we love raising our families in this community, and you don't have to worry about it. And we, as I mentioned, that intentional community, we get to be part of that community as well, right? And it's not just us, but also the town of Oberlin shows up to our sporting events, our performances. It's a big part of what the community is all about.
I know we still have the majority of folks still on the line. It is right at the top of the hour. We're going to stay on for at least another 15, if not 20 more minutes so we can answer more of these questions. But if you do have to leave, just remember that we're going to be sending out a weekly email every Sunday to let you know about the events that will be happening throughout the week and opportunities for you to interact with students, faculty, and really get to know our community, as well as sit in on classes, right? And so you can actually sample Oberlin, right, before you even decide. But we're going to continue to move forward with this. One of the other questions was the relationship between the conservatory and the college. As a non-music major, is there access to the conservatory? And similar, several things about dance and art as well. What kind of access would students have to that?
Let me pass this along to Laura, just because she was so instrumental in creating all these interdivisional programs. So let me turn it over to you, Laura.
Thanks, David. So there was also a question in the chat about music minors. So there's really a whole variety of ways that you can benefit from the unique feature of Oberlin and having a conservatory and college on the same campus. So the most intense, obviously, is the double degree program. You can major in musical studies, but if you really just want to pursue your life as a musician on campus, there's the A&S orchestra. There are lots of ensembles, so there are lots of performance opportunities that are open to arts and science students. There are private lessons. These private lessons are sometimes given by students in the conservatory, often by faculty, and sometimes by visiting artists who are here uniquely for the purpose of offering private lessons in musical performance to arts and science students. So there's a whole wealth of ways for you to pursue your interest in music. And I would encourage you to follow up with me after if I can help provide more specific answers to your question, but I can't imagine a better place to come as someone who is a musician and really wants to continue their musical life at Oberlin. Did I miss anything, David? Manuel?
Yeah, so I noticed a couple questions there too about some of our other arts. And so just to say that the conservatory is a conservatory of music, and so theater, dance are majors within the College of Arts and Sciences, not the conservatory. And so certainly for those areas, you're not applying specifically to a program or a department in the same way that you would for the conservatory. And so for those, you would declare that major second year as you go in. But regardless, I would say you do not have to be a theater major to perform in a theater production. We do have a College of Arts and Sciences orchestra. I would say, it is a great, wonderful orchestra. And so it's not the place for Manuel, who's a terrible clarinet player, to say, hey, I'd love to learn a little bit more. They do put on some very serious productions and there is an audition process, but certainly it's not quite the same as, the conservatory in terms of, expecting to be kind of the same level. There were a couple of questions too about opportunities for those of you who maybe would like to join the conservatory later on. I would say there is an opportunity after you've been here. I would say it's not very frequent, and you have to go through the same audition process as you would have. And so I would say, yes, know that it's a possibility, but know that that it's a very high bar in terms of joining the conservatory. And so again, it's not a, hey, I'd love to learn how to play the piano. It's, I've been doing it for a long time. Maybe I chose not to apply the first time around because I wanted to see kind of the seriousness of the program. But I would say there's definitely great opportunities. Also would add that we typically have a very popular webinar that talks about musical opportunities for A&S students. And so look out for that as an opportunity to get some of those questions answered as well.
Yes, Manuel, can I just pick up on what you said about the other art, the practicing arts at Oberlin?
Sure.
So one of the defining characteristics of the arts at Oberlin is not only that you learn real technical skill and proficiency, because you're studying that art form within a liberal arts context, you really develop your voice as an artist. So you not only develop the skills to express yourself in whatever way you're seeking to, whatever art form, but you also have something to say. So it's a really great place to study the arts. And, you know, as I already mentioned, a lot of the arts are in conversation with each other. So we have, I put in the chat, an interdisciplinary performance minor. So that's for those of you who are really arts omnivores and are thinking about the relationship between dance and music and theater. Thanks.
And next year, we'll be celebrating the 50th anniversary of contact improv, which was invented at Oberlin. And we're going to have a wide series of events around it. So I know we're all on campus really looking forward to that celebration.
There's a question in here about the ease. How easy is it for a student to get involved in research?
So from the first year on, students become involved in research. Typically in the beginning, it's through winter term in that first year, but then moves rapidly into summer research or research during the semester. There's a wide range of forms of research that students do. So there's working in a faculty member's laboratory, but there's also an expectation across all of our academic departments and programs that our ambition is not for our students to simply be a very able, skilled consumers of knowledge, but really producers of knowledge. And so in every department and program, there's an expectation and support for students to really begin and hone those skills for doing one's own research.
I would just mention that there will be a panel specifically about research opportunities at Oberlin that I really encourage you all to attend. There'll be lots of students on that panel, as well as faculty, so they'll be able to speak to their experience and how early they got started in their research at Oberlin.
So there's a question in here about the new program in global health. Wondering about why it was created, what partnerships exist, and what careers it prepares students for.
Okay, so the global health program, actually, we were talking about it much earlier than the pandemic. It's part of our One Oberlin initiative that was back in 2018. Here's the thing about global health and Oberlin. Oberlin is a place where we take big challenges, and public health is one of those huge challenges, right? And when we think about the pandemic, we think about the intersection of, for example, race and public health. We think about the discrepancies in the availability right now of vaccines throughout the world. To tackle these kinds of problems require really a multidisciplinary approach to it, where the humanities, the social sciences, and the natural sciences are all involved. Our faculty across departments and programs love working on problems together, and our students do as well. So we thought a global health program is just a natural thing for Oberlin. And when we discussed it as a faculty and with our students, everyone thought it was just a really appropriate, right thing for Oberlin to do. So we're really looking forward to it launching formally next year.
I know there are many questions here. I just want to clarify in terms of the start of the fall semester is that it will begin, I guess there's some clarifying things that there is late September will be orientation and then the fall semester for this year will start most likely the first week of October. This is different than a typical year. The reason why it was pushed back was because of the summer session that for this pandemic year, when we went from 2 semesters to 3 semesters, there's a summer session happening that normally would not happen. And so that's why we had to push back the fall semester. And so just to clarify, and so that means that students would most likely have orientation the later part of September, and they would move in late September. That is the plan, and we're going to continue to move forward with that. People will get more details, about that as we make decisions based upon what's going to be safe and healthy, and getting back to what we think is going to be as close to normal as we can, keeping our whole community safe. And so we're moving forward with an in-person plan to bring people to campus and to do it in a safe manner. So just so that's clear, because I know we've been getting several other questions that are just coming in to make sure and trying to clarify that. Let's see here. Can you talk a little bit about integrated concentrations and what that means?
I'm happy to explain. So it's a really exciting curricular model. Basically, the easiest way to understand it is a minor plus an internship. So it like a minor, it involves 5 to 6 classes, but it's also as David was mentioning, it's also very intentionally connected to experiential learning opportunities. The basic idea is that an integrative concentration really helps you connect the theory you're learning in the classroom with the practice you learn in the internship or study away program or other experiential learning. So most of the integrative concentrations have, or I think all of the integrative concentrations have a corresponding career community. And David talked about the career communities. These career communities basically provide scaffolding for you to prepare for an internship and then to really think about how the internship enriched your academic study. All students who pursue an integrative concentration also have a learning portfolio, an e-portfolio, and this is really the space for you to curate your academic experiences, your classroom experiences, the work you're most proud of, as well as your internship experiences. And we call it integrative because the point is really for you to think about the connection. So you're not just doing your classes and then you have your internship and you kind of vaguely feel like they're related. You're really thinking about how deeply connected they are. So we're really proud of this particular curricular model because we really think it's the thing that helps you in very direct ways prepare for your professional life after Oberlin.
Tom?
Yes.
I'm going to put in the chat a link to our Engage Liberal Arts site because there's a video in here, which I think really speaks to our approach to a highly personalized education that does connect theory and practice. So in that video, it's from students themselves, different pathways where they've integrated their classroom learning with all sorts of other things, including research, internships, community-based learning. So I think that will be helpful to give a feel to how we approach an Oberlin education.
There's a question in here that's a little bit more on the practical side, that once students get to campus, what about jobs on campus and how do students get them? And what's that process? And then is there some examples of some student jobs that students have while they're on campus?
I'm happy to answer that. So for some of you, you might have received as part of your financial aid package kind of work study, the typical work study, but whether it's work study or just you want to work on campus, there's definitely opportunities to work on campus. We don't typically tell you where you have to work, so you get to choose. Come work in admissions, you can be one of our tour guides and get paid to show folks around. There's jobs that can be very helpful for you, right? You could work in career services and really learn the skills of what it takes to get a job. I think that always seems to me like a wonderful opportunity to kind of get a head start on finding a career and getting trained and helping other students. You could work in the writing center, helping students with their work. If you're wonderful at a specific subject, you could be a tutor for a class. And so there's all kinds of really wonderful opportunities. There are also some jobs that I won't say are cushy necessarily, but you might get paid to do some desk sitting in the athletic facilities, where you might be able to get some of your work done, or work in the library late at night on a Sunday, where you might get a chance just to sit there every once in a while, help somebody out, but you might be able to get some of your work done as you go forward. And for others, students really love the idea of being involved and being a part of an office. And so you might work for the mailroom and get a chance to really get to know those folks. That's a wonderful opportunity on campus, or get paid to do some community service through the Bonner Center. And so there's really a lot of opportunities for students. And I would say it's not at all a hard thing to do. It's definitely something that that many of our students do, even beyond those students who might be receiving need-based financial aid, and where that might be a part of their package. So definitely look forward to great opportunities, and there's a lot of great choices for students there. I would add to that, Tom, I saw not to take your job, but a couple other kind of those practical questions of, do we get roommates? We said yes, you would. There is a roommate questionnaire, so you get to kind of share what some of your preferences are. Are you a late night person and an early morning person? Students, make sure you fill this out. Parents, stay away. This is not what you want your students to be, but what students really what you are. So don't say you're neat if you're not, because that's where I think the roommate issues start being popping up. But it's a great opportunity to get paired up with somebody who's wonderful for you as well. And I also saw some funny questions kind of around those practicalities of, how many people am I going to share a bathroom with? Right? Is it 37 on average? No, it really depends, right? It could be 2 or 3 sharing, but for many first years, it's going to be kind of the bathroom down the hall. Rest assured that there's plenty of opportunities, and this is part of the fun of living kind of residential housing is getting to share some of those experiences, and the residential community is a big part of the Oberlin liberal arts experience.
I know one of the big differences for this year in terms of the limited amount of visits that we have available for in-person, right? You can find out all the information on our website, but it's really what we want to do is throughout this whole entire next 6 weeks is provide opportunities for you guys to get to know each other. And so I know that there's the Facebook group that if you haven't joined that, or if you've never even been on Facebook before, now is the perfect opportunity, to join Facebook and join the 2025 Facebook group so that you can get to know each other. There's also something that we're going to have almost twice a week, every week for the next 6 weeks, are things called our student hangouts. And I'm going to ask Jess to kind of post up also just a listing of all the different schedules of the webinars that are going to be coming up here and through the chat, just to give you kind of a quick visual of the different things that we're going to be doing over the next 6 weeks, right? So it's opportunities for you to get to know faculty, for you to get to know different community members, and to get to know students, and to get to know each other. And so I know part of the really big thing is really connecting and to see, who are those other fellow OBs and how can I connect with them? And one of a great way to do that is the Hangouts. As well as, joining the class. Laura talked about healing democracy, and what better way to get to know others is to be into some deeper discussions and to be in a class and take a class together. And that's why we want to offer this to you students. Even if you're still unsure about whether or not you're going to enroll at Oberlin, this will be a great opportunity to connect with some other just great minds all over the country and all over the world. And we want to provide that opportunity for you. It's just about 8:20. I don't know if we're kind of winding down, or are we able to maybe take a few more questions, or should we?
Maybe just 1 or 2 more, Tom. I see that training. One thing that I wanted to add, as you're looking for those last couple ones, Tom, a couple of you have asked about athletics. We said, yes, athletics is going to be happening in the fall. We will have a webinar specifically for athletics. And again, we're still finalizing the academic schedule, but the plan is for some of our fall athletes to join us a little bit earlier for preseason, so that season would not be shortened as we go forward. But the full extent of it isn't there. We would typically end the academic calendar, David, it's end of May, right? Early June. So it's a little bit longer on the back end. And so we're not cutting the academic year by any means. It just goes a little bit longer, but it's not going to go into July or anything like that. It would just be by the end of May, I believe you're done with classes typically, and then done soon after that. And then we're back to the traditional two semesters after that.
Exactly.
So this evening, right, we tried to give some broad strokes about what is Oberlin like, and what's the kind of the essence of who we are as a community. And but we just scratched the surface, right, with well over 150 questions that came in. We're going to answer every single one of those. This session is recorded. We did give a sample of just some of the webinars, and there's going to be things happening every single week in terms of tours, information sessions, student hangouts, where that means that you're coming together as admitted students as well as with current Oberlin students, so that you get to do some fun interactive games, so that you're really just getting to start to build community from the very beginning. Obviously, there's the Healing Democracy course. We have 2 academic fairs that are happening during this next month, where we're going to bring faculty from all over the entire campus, every department, specialized programs. And if you have very specific questions about that one specific major, you can go and you can talk to faculty and current students possibly in that area, so that we really encourage that. And then we have a special session coming up with our president, Carmen Ambar. And so make sure that you're checking your emails on every Sunday. It's going to come on out. But we, to really hear the vision about where we stand today and where do we see Oberlin in the future. And again, if you all saw her short video in terms of welcoming you and congratulating you, but this will be an opportunity for you to hear from her. And then I'm sure there'll be some sort of Q&A session too that you can ask the president as well. I do want to just summarize tonight in just a couple major themes here that, as we heard from David and from Manuel and from Laura, we really did talk about this idea of the fusion of the arts and academics at Oberlin, right? It's like no other place in the country when you think about the type of academic kind of rigor that you can get, as well with, a world-class music conservatory, a fabulous art museum, and all the different opportunities to do that. The second thing is really this idea of deep, rigorous, thoughtful learning, but not just learning for learning's sake, but learning for the greater good. How does it ultimately apply? And then this idea of commitment to access and diversity, it's part of our history, it's who we are, it's woven into kind of the fabric of who we are as Oberlin. And so I encourage you, students and family members, to truly take advantage of the multitude of events that we have going on over the next 6 weeks. Please check your email on the Sunday. Make sure that you're marking it so it doesn't get caught in the junk folder. And then join us, because we're going to dive deeper into all these different areas. If you have specific things about athletics, about research, about financial aid, about housing, all those specifics, we're going to get into that, and we'll have opportunities for you to interact. And so I want to take just this a couple seconds then to thank our panelists. Thank you, David, Manuel, and Laura, for spending time with us. And I want to say again, just a heartfelt congratulations to you, students. You did it. Right. And we really hope that you're going to be joining us here this fall. And so just as a reminder, you might have just made up your mind by this time. At the beginning of the webinar, you're maybe thinking, now you are convinced, right? You can always go online and you can submit your enrollment deposit and secure your spot in the class. And we're just excited, right? So there's opportunities for that. But if you have further questions, please engage with us over the next 6 weeks. And the deadline to reply is May 1, and we're excited to welcome this class of 2025.